2 weeks ago was Suicide Prevention Month, which we should have done in this broadcast, but it's belated right now. So, and with that, some articles that we're going to look at today have to do with suicide. Have to do with suicides in school. Sometimes suicides outside of school. Sometimes in cities. That's our focus tonight, along with some. That's our focus tonight. I'll listen more on today's Give Me a Break. 2 weeks ago, it was Suicide Prevention Week. It meant there's an annual week-long campaign in the United States to inform, engage health professionals and general public about suicide prevention and warn against suicide. But that's not often the case. That's not always the case. But we're gonna try to focus on the main subject of these articles right here is having some time throughout days ago. Just like back in this was from 2 days ago. This was from the New York Post. Which shows a bystander rescuing a girl after dad's subway suicide. I don't know what would risk that person to jump to kill himself in the subway, but that's not the way to end your life. I mean, you got a lot of time on this earth left. I mean, to love and cherish and to remember your children. There we go. A dramatic cell phone video shows the moment of a 5-year-old girl who crawls out from under the Bronx subway car that her suicidal dad had fatally leaped in front of her with her cradled in arms. Once she grasped the outstretched of her arm of a good Samaritan who had lowered herself onto the track, the girl hoisted up onto the platform into a crowd of shocked strap-hangers who watched to console her. Footage shows, moments earlier the girl's dad, a 45-year-old boxman, lifted the girl into his arms and leaped in front of the outcoming train about 8 a.m. and ended his life. In front of horrified commuters, but miraculously leaving her kneeling. But sources said they leaved her unscathed, and that's what the authorities and sources say. I don't know why this would happen, but you should be able to do that. You should be able to do that. I mean, you shouldn't be able to do that. I mean, you really want to cause a crash from the train tracks? These people have to get their transportation, and then you just want to sit there and just be like, I'm going to die, and then, bam, that's what happens. We just can't have this happen in this state. Next up, also the New York Times. 3 suicides in one Navy ship's crew point to a growing problem. A cluster of 3 suicides in less than a week among one ship's crew had shocked the United States Navy, raising questions about why the suicide rate in the service climbed sharply in recent years despite the sustained efforts at prevention. 3 deaths while a sailor was assigned to the aircraft carrier for the George H.W. Bush which is a dry dock in Norfolk, Virginia for intensive repairs. But going up top and look at this. Look at the statistics. Let's look at the statistics for the suicide for 2019. Statistics show that nearly 800,000 people die by suicide on the road each year, which is roughly one death every 40 seconds. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in the world of those aged 15 to 24. I mean, if you look at the studies and statistics, you would actually know. Studies have shown that suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the U.S. Back in 2017, 47,173 Americans died by suicide. Back in 2017, there was an estimated 1,400,000 suicide attempts. And in 2015, the suicide and self-injury cost the U.S. about $69 billion. Look at the facts here. I mean, let's look at the chart here. This is from the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.org. And if you click on this state right here, I mean, this is the graph. It shows, like, this is the rate. Texas. Texas, the student rate was 10.78. It goes all the way back to 2015, 13.34. California, the line goes straight. Florida, the line goes above here, 13.95. In Louisiana, the student rate for the suicide rate is just like 15.18. And the studies, and look at these studies. The rates are like almost less than 15, 85 or older. This is like 2017. This is like 45 to 54 years of age. Back in 2009, 16.70% were like 55 to 64. This is all back in 2000. This is like from like almost 17 years ago. Even the race, 15.85%, the rates raised by ethnicity, like 15.85% is white. American Indians is 13.42. The Asian for suicide rates is just like 6.62. African Americans like 6.3. And if you look at the pie chart, this 7.8% of people like for other, while 50% of suicides happened by firearms. 13% were used by poisoning, and suffocation was like 27%. mean, look at all these studies. It always happens. This is from Louisiana. And now this is from Texas. So you say in Texas, the age-adjusted ratio is 13.34. Arizona, 18.14. Alaska, 27.11. Florida, 13.95. Oklahoma, 13 ranks of suicide, 19.9%. Maine, 18.80. And if you were to look at the fact sheets, look at all the fact sheets. The state rank of suicides, just like number of deaths with suicides, 274. Nationally, it's just 47,173. What if you were to look at Texas? Let's look at Texas for just a minute. Do you have leading? It's the 11th leading cause in Texas. For ages 15 to 34, 4th leading 35 to 44, 5th leading 45 to 54, 9th leading 55 to 64, 7th leading 65 and older. The state ranks just 40. We're lucky. Enough about suicides. I don't want to be looking at any more studies. Next here, we talked about bus privileges, like riding the bus is your privilege, not a right. We'll look at some. I'm going to tell you about the extracurricular activities that you do at school are a privilege or not a right. We'll talk about that after the break. If you guys didn't remember, the last time we talked about how riding the bus is not your right; it's a privilege. Y'all might be saying, looking at this video, saying, "But our taxes pay for transportation." Yes, but the school has the right to take you off the bus. If you're riding in a car with your parents, they tell you stop doing that, I'll throw you out the car. Your transportation is not a right. Like if you need to get to school, you need to get to school. All schools have rules, even the buses. No eating or drinking, no using your phones, none of that. Because it's a distraction to the driver. I mean, seriously. If you were to use your phone at the driver, it's a distraction, and it causes a crash. Enough of that. Let's get into the extracurricular activities like the cheerleading and the football. I mean, students have rights, but they don't have the right to ride the bus because it's a privilege. But the sports thing, for everyone, like, you may have cheerleading, but if you just do something that breaks the school rules, like throwing something at a student, not using your phone without permission, you lose the privilege. And you can't go to the prep line. It's a privilege, not a right. I mean, cheerleaders are athletes who, I mean, if you do something not supposed to do in school and you tell the principal, like, I have a game tonight. Then the principal says, I'm sorry, but I'm going to take your football away for that day and then give you a half-day of in-school suspension. But why is high school sports a privilege? I mean, look at the Sadler Sports blog. I mean, athletes, administrators, or parents might like to believe otherwise, students do not have a constitutionally protected right to participate in high school sports. The vast majority in cases the courts have found no legal right to participate in interscholastic athletics, even for athletes skilled enough to earn athletic scholarships. Participation in athletic sports, if held, is a privilege only. So therefore, school athletics administrators have every right to suspend or bar athletes from completing other teams or any other reasons, including alcohol and drug use. This is from attorney John T. Woolham from the athletic business. I think he's right. You don't have the right to continue doing this. Like if you want to get away with throwing something at another student, you want to get away with assault, then go right ahead. But it's a privilege. I mean, cheerleading is a privilege, basketball is a privilege, football is a privilege, pep rallies are a privilege. Not your right. Like if you get detention, you tell your teacher, like, I can't make the detention, I have a pep rally. No exceptions, no excuses. I mean, just like Child Protective Services says, the parents have to provide a stable, warm environment. That means food. That means warm, stable food, medical, a room with a bed, a blanket, and a pillow would be nice. It doesn't require posters on the wall, television, video games, computers. Those are all privileges. And if your child wants those things, you earn them a step at a time. Commando parenting means the one rule that we must live by as parents is don't reward bad behavior. The formula looks like this: bad language equals bad behavior. Bad language, it's bad behavior. You don't reward bad behavior. Like if you were to say, "Hey, go get me an effing soda," and then here's the soda. That's not it. You can't, just don't leave the F word out. Say, "Mom, can you please give me a soda?" Look at the Fortnite kid that was on Dr. Phil last year. And I think the New York Times is right. Being on the athlete is a privilege, not a right. But still, you can't just be like, well, cheerleading is really important to you, yes, but like if you have a huge game on Friday and you can't cheer, if you can't cheer, then you can't if you can't cheer, then you're laying down your whole squad. I mean, your principal's just going to go half a day of in-school suspension and take away your privilege. And you'd be like, well, are you serious? Yes. I mean, if you don't do your work, you don't go to football. I mean, if your teacher emails your athletic coach and says that Eric's not doing his work, he's just sitting there talking to his friends, I think you should not be able to go to the game. And then when he goes to his next period, which is athletics, the coach calls him down. Eric, can I see you? I get an email from your teacher, and I think you're not going to the game because you didn't do your work. I mean, that should be a hell of to the principals. Just write them. Just have the teachers write them. Teachers write up the students, and then it should say like, Eric refused to do his work. I asked him several times. We're gonna do his work. He was sitting there talking to his friends. I told him several times. After the second time, I told him if he does it again, I was gonna give him a referral. And he did it again, so I gave him a referral. Principal will just say, I'm going to take away your... Do you participate in extracurricular activities? He says yes, and then football. I do athletics, and then he says, well, I got a big game tonight, and then the principal says, I'm going to give you a half a day of in-school suspension, and then I'm going to take away the football game this evening. Serious. Why is it a privilege? Well, the school makes the rules. Yes, our taxes pay for the helmets, the pom-poms, the uniforms, all that stuff. Our taxes pay for it. The principal has the right to ban you from... Yes, the principal has the right to ban you from every athletic club ever. There's no point in me just telling you this. I mean, if those of you that are in athletics, just do what you're supposed to do. Then you can go to your football games. Like if you break the rules at school and you don't go to your football game and you sit in detention, and then you're thinking about why you shouldn't be able to do it. Alright, when we come back here, we talked about truancy dozens of times, but one person in particular that I haven't even talked about, Jack Doherty. I'm going to tell you the number of times he skipped school, the days that he missed school while skipping, and I'm going to tell him what his punishment is if it continues after the break. Alright guys, we talked about this before. You have to go to school by law. It's the law. If you don't go to school, you don't get your education, you don't get a good job, you're done. But Jack Doherty here decides he wants to skip school to make a video. He skipped school about 10 times for 10 videos. So 10 times you make the video, times to 10 videos he made, that's 100. Now what if we add, that's a lot of unexcused absences. Now we add in the 8 times that he was unexcused from 8 periods for each. Multiply by 8, the 8 times that he was unexcused, that's 800, that's like almost a lot of absences happen. And then the fine, if it happens in New Jersey, the fine is $100. But if it continues, it's $125. We add that up. That's like if he was to continue all this, he would not be able to graduate school. He wouldn't be able to get a good job because he wants to skip school for his videos. Buddy, you shouldn't be able to do that. You know what's going to happen if you continue to skip school? You're not going to be able to get a good job. You're not going to be able to graduate. You're not going to be able to do anything with your life if you keep on doing this. You have to go to school by law. If you're like in the 16, you could be. It's in a state in New Jersey. Students who are younger than 16, they could be arrested or end up in juvenile court if they have too many unexcused absences. So, in Jack Doherty's case, he skipped school like 10 times and had a lot of unexcused absences for all of his periods. This is his very first one. Number 1. Number 2. Number 1. Number 2. He skipped school 9 times. Or 8, let's just say 8. And if he was to continue, he would be arrested or sent to juvenile court. New Jersey leaves it to local school districts to come up with an attendance policy which absences will be excused, which court will towards truancy. State regulations do say, however, that they should be excused to observe recognized religious holidays. This is the penalties for state regulations define truants as 8 children between the ages of 6 and 16 or a total of 10 or more unexcused absences from school. Attendance officials may arrest truants without a warrant. The penalties is $25 for the first offense, $100 for that. So he skipped school 10 times. Times 25 times 100. His mom would be able to pay like almost $25. No, let's do this. Let's do this one more time. He skipped school 10 times. Plus 25, and if he continues, we added $100. If it continues, they would have paid him. They would have paid $135 for all of his absences. So $100 times 10. So that's $100. We multiply by the 10 times he skipped school. That's like $1,000. You would have to spend a lot of money for that. You would owe the state $1,000 just because Jack Doherty just skipped school. You shouldn't be able to skip school, period. It's against the law. You shouldn't be able to do it, period. I never skipped school. Look at me now. I got my education. I care about our kids' education. I care about our kids' future. And if they decide to skip school to make videos of it, they're going to know about it. The principal's going to know about it. The administration's going to know about it. The superintendent, the school board's going to know about it. And they're going to decide disciplinary action. That's our report for today. Thanks for joining us. I'll see you Friday.